Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? I'm your host, Bad Guy Ibra, aka Ibrema. I'm your favorite Gambian, and today we're going to be talking about, as you've seen from my thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the biggest mismatches in UFC history. I'm talking about the biggest, not the biggest mismatches, but the biggest mismatch in UFC history, ladies and gentlemen. Are you looking forward to it? I'm your host, your favorite Gambian, ladies and gentlemen, and I know the thumbnail might slightly seem like it's a little bit misleading, right? But that's not my hope. That's not the whole goal for this video. You know, I'm not trying to mislead you. I'm not trying to clickbait you. So obviously you can see clearly the thumbnail shows Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic. Although that, in a sense, in the third fight is some form of mismatch, not going to lie. Especially how Stipe knocked him the fuck out in the second fight, right? But I mean, DC knocked him the fuck out in the first fight, you know what I mean? Language, though. But anyways, that fight was overall good, but I'm talking about the biggest mismatch, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest mismatch, drumroll, Ronda Rousey versus Amanda Nunes. This is by far the biggest mismatch in UFC history. I'm not even lying, bro. So the fight took place at UFC 207 in the T-Mobile Arena, I think, in Las Vegas, Nevada. So just not to get my facts wrong, right? Let me just check. UFC 207. So I've googled it, right? No complaints. So UFC 207. I got it right. I told you it took place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely sensational events between Amanda Nunes and obviously Ronda Rousey. It's not even a sensational event. It was just one-sided. Then you've got Cody Garbrandt, who defeated Dominic Cruz, and TJ Dillashaw with a fantastic performance. I mean, a totally dominant performance against John Lineker. So yeah, but anyways, go into the main event. Literally all the top three fights, like I'm talking about the main event, the co-main event, and the other event as well, the one that comes before the co-main event, were like literally dominant performances from like the fighters. So Amanda Nunes totally annihilated Ronda Rousey. You've got Cody Garbrandt with a sensational performance. I'm talking about a dominant performance against Dominic Cruz, and then you've got TJ Dillashaw with a superb display of grappling against John Lineker. Beautiful. But anyways, Ronda Rousey though, mate, because she had lost to Holly Holmes. She had lost to Holly Holm at UFC. She lost to Holly Holmes at UFC 192 in Melbourne, Australia. You know, in Australia, the fight that took place between Holly and Ronda. Going into the fight, everyone thought, oh, Ronda Rousey is going to beat Holly Holm. She's going to get her down, you know, the armbar submission and all of that. And Holly Holmes just completely outboxed Ronda Rousey. Her head movement, her footwork was just superb. And eventually Ronda was just rushing in and she was getting tagged. She was getting clipped by Holly Holmes, and eventually she went down after Holly caught her with like a beautiful sort of like straight left from the southpaw stance. And then Ronda went down. Holly pushed her a little bit, caught her with a head kick, went for the finish. Absolutely sensational. Holly Holmes, the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world. But then the problem became that she went on, apologies for that, the problem became she went on to defend the title against Misha Cupcake Tate, and Misha Tate obviously got the choke at 196. But anyways, Misha then got choked out by Ronda Rousey at UFC 200, and this essentially meant that Ronda Rousey had been away or hadn't fought essentially for like how long? So she hadn't fought for a year, and she was going around in like the Ellen show just saying, oh, I nearly took my life, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I'm not trying to make any fun of suicide and that it's bad, but I mean, she fought Amanda Nunes going into the fight. It was like any UFC fighter. I remember making a post on Facebook. This was a long time ago, back in like obviously late 2016, like because the fight took place on the 31st of December, so literally almost New Year's before 2017, right? Amazing. Went into fight. I mean, you can see the discrepancies in terms of striking. It wasn't even close. Amanda Nunes looked at the Holly Holm fight and she gained a lot of confidence because she probably might have the presupposition that she's a better striker than Holly Holmes, and from that she gained a lot of confidence to just, I'm talking about just beat the hell out of Ronda Rousey. The fight never went out for more than 30 seconds. So let me see. 48 seconds, that's how long the fight lasted between the Lioness Nunes and Ronda Rousey. And when you think about it now, to be honest, it's actually a mismatch. Like, it's such a mismatch that it becomes palpable, ladies and gentlemen. A massive mismatch between the two fighters. Anyways, though, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy because, like, obviously everyone's like, Ronda Rousey's gonna be back. She's gonna be Amanda Nunes. But no one's watched what Amanda Nunes had done to Misha Tate. Like, no one's seeing it. Like, Amanda Nunes had brutalized and beaten the hell out of Misha Tate. I'm talking about Misha, the cupcake Tate, who essentially beat Holly Holmes, the lady that beat Ronda Rousey, sort of thing. You know what I mean? But obviously, MMA maths doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. Just because this person beats this person doesn't mean the other person's gonna beat the other person. You know what I mean? Makes no sense, right? So yeah, with a dominant performance and now looking at it, I'm like, this was such a mismatch, to be honest. Ronda Rousey had been away. Amanda Nunes has just beat the hell out of Misha Tate and submitted her at UFC 200. She hadn't lost a fight in it like for 2 years. Well, not now, but when she fought Ronda or when she fought Misha Tate. Before that, she hadn't lost a fight in 2 years. The last fight she lost was against Kat Zingano. I'm talking about Kat Zingano, who's like a killer. Amanda Nunes lost to Kat, but you gotta remember though, Saf mentioned MMA math doesn't make no sense because Ronda Rousey beat Kat Zingano. So that's one of the problems with mixed martial arts, to be honest. The maths doesn't make sense. But now, retrospectively speaking and looking at the fight between Nunes and Rousey, bro, like, it wasn't even close, bro. Like, the idea that, remember, people were like, well, Ronda Rousey might get it in a takedown. And Ronda Rousey, like, the Americans and that, well, I think Ronda Rousey's going to get the takedown and all of that. And he's going to get the armbar and all of that. Armbar on Amanda Nunes. At the time, Nunes was actually a brown belt in judo and a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Although Ronda, that's nothing in comparison to Ronda's sort of like, Olympic caliber judo. But mate, Nunes was tagging her, bro. Like, I was like, stop it, bro. I was supporting Ronda, but still didn't want her to take that level of beating because Amanda Nunes got strong hands, bro. She hits really hard. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, although it might seem like a little bit of a clickbait, but I just want to take the time to apologize to absolutely nobody if it seems like a clickbait. Obviously the notorious one, kind of. Anyways, but yeah, it was a great event, like, overall. I mean, talking about the main event in itself, especially Dillashaw came out with a sensational performance, as I've mentioned, against John Lineker, and Cody Garbrandt with a head movement against, Dominic Cruz and that, which was a fantastic dominant performance from Garbrandt as well. And as I've mentioned, Nunes, the fight between Nunes and Ronda Rousey was so not close. So not close. It was like, it just shows how good Amanda Nunes is. And to this day, she hasn't lost a bout. She is the women's bantamweight champion of the world, and she's also the featherweight champion of the world. And she's defended the belts across the board. I mean, recently she fought Megan Anderson. Dominant performance, mate. So at the end of the day, who is there for Amanda Nunes? Who's there for Amanda Nunes? I mean, you've got a lot of fighters, not gonna lie. There's a lot, I wouldn't say a lot of decent fighters to be honest. She's literally wiped out every single person. And when it comes to the flyweight division, Valentina Bullet Shevchenko has wiped out every single person as well. So although sometimes it's good to see each fighter kind of dominate their sort of like their respective weight classes. But at the end of the day, when are we going to make the fight? Because they fought twice, not going to lie, and Nunes won both fights. Not going to lie, Nunes definitely guaranteed won the first fight, but it was really close because it was a 3-rounder and it was actually at UFC 196. The second fight, on the other hand, I thought Valentina Shevchenko won that fight. I remember watching it. I think it was at UFC 217, if I'm not mistaken. No, it wasn't UFC 217, not even close. It was UFC 215, and I guaranteed that Valentina Shevchenko actually won that fight. Like, I really believe that she won, but obviously they gave it to Nunes, and you remember Shevchenko was complaining, I thought I won the fight. She just had one punch. And yeah, absolutely sensational. So the biggest mismatch in UFC history is actually Ronda Rousey and Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes is too strong, hits hard. You know what I mean? Ronda Rousey had been away for a year and lost to Holly Holmes before that. She went out crying. I'm talking about crying in the Ellen DeGeneres, so he took my life. But when I looked at Travis Papa Brown, I was like, I'm like, I want to have his babies and that. Ronda Rousey said that. You're going to remember, nowadays MMA is getting more competitive and all of that. and because it's getting more competitive, if you go away or you're just out there partying and all that, I promise you that when you come back, it doesn't matter if you're the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the world, someone is going to take your place. I promise you that, ladies and gentlemen. The same thing happened to Ronda Rousey. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you obviously watching the video. What do you think? What fight for you personally is the biggest mismatch in UFC history? Obviously, I've already given my opinions and my thought. Obviously, it's between Ronda Rousey and Amanda Nunes, but you've got a lot of fights like BJ Penn versus George St. Pierre, Royce Gracie versus Matt Hughes. That was a big one. Matt Serra versus GSP. The second time round was was also a mismatch as well. And Holly Holmes versus Ronda Rousey. Big mismatch as well. And Eddie Alvarez and Conor McGregor at UFC 205 as well was a big mismatch as well, ladies and gentlemen. So I appreciate the time, appreciate obviously you watching as well. Make sure to smash the like button down below, comment obviously, and subscribe with your notification bells up, bro. Like, you know what I mean, with your notification bells. And until next time, have yourselves a fantastic day.